first of all, I just wanted to set the context here. Were you at the rally in Pennsylvania, and where are you right now? How have you been coping with the incident?
No, I was not in the rally in Pennsylvania. I was traveling from Washington, D.C. to here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, looking forward here for the upcoming RNC convention. And coping with this news has been a shock to all of us. First and foremost, I was worried about my former colleagues and former coworkers that were behind the scenes at the Trump rally, of course, in the Secret Service for doing their work. And, of course, like you said, one casualty with Corey Comparatore's family, who he threw himself in front of the bullet to protect his family. So this is a real situation that was developing over the past couple of days, and it's definitely taken the Republican Party by storm, but I think it's also united and energized the party even more.
Right, Jen, I caught your guesting earlier at our sister show, StoryCon. So by now, I already know that you are a staunch Republican. And obviously, you're going to the RNC. They're expecting about 50,000 people. This is a big event, 4 days. It is also going to be indoor as opposed to outdoors. I just wanted to get your thoughts on how Republicans there think this is going to impact the campaign overall.
Yeah, to be honest, I think this is going to bring a time of unity to the party in the sense of this. If you look back in the history from 2016 to 2024 in terms of the Republican conventions, in 2016, we've had an open kind of somewhat convention. President Trump at that point was trying to convince the rest of the Republican Party that he was the right nominee and became the nominee in 2016. And then, of course, in 2020, because of COVID, we didn't have an in-person convention. So now looking forward with this upcoming 2024 convention, the Republican Party now is more united than ever in terms of backing President Trump, now waiting for his VP announcement and who's going to tap to be the next VP candidate. And, from then on, it's the job of those candidates and the Republican Party to take the message out to the American people and find a way to earn their votes for this upcoming election in November.
For me, John, there are two broader questions that this incident raised. One is the immediate implications on the elections. You already pointed out what you think might happen, but also how to halt the growing violence in the U.S., political as well as otherwise. Do you think a second Trump presidency might have what it takes to address that? Pointing out, of course, that President Trump himself is also 78 years old.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of this upcoming race, when it comes to toning down the temperature down, obviously we saw President Biden come up yesterday and have his address in the Oval Office. And for time as it is now, it is needed and appropriate coming from this position. Of course, President Trump as well, I think the reports that's been coming out on what he's going to address in this upcoming convention is going to be somewhat more of a uniting message. I think from the reports we've seen, he scrapped his previous message on what he's going to say, but more on the focus of uniting the country now, uniting the nation now, because we're seeing an opportunity, where you can see the Republican Party that is uniting towards President Trump, while on the other hand, despite this issue that's happening, if you look back from 3 weeks ago at the debate till even now, the Democrats still have no idea if it's going to be Joe Biden or are they going to find somebody else to run for his nomination in the convention coming up in August for the Democrats. So those are bigger issues that I believe that the Democrats have to solve and make a case to the American people. For the past 3.5 years, they've been making a case, and as you can see, the polls have not been popular towards President Biden, and you can see a lot more folks are moving towards President Trump, especially now with this case. I've been hearing from Filipino Americans all across this country that's coming out the woodwork that's like, man, President Trump, he doesn't need to be taking any of this, right? He could be spending his time in his resorts and his golf courses, but he's out there sharing his message to the American people and getting shot in a minute and with it, right? So it's definitely a time for a place for Republicans now to take this narrative and really take the battle to the ballot boxes, right? And that's where they want to see the change and the tide turn. President Trump now is really encouraging folks to really turn out and express their messages and their concerns through the ballot box and beat the Democrats this upcoming November.
John, investigations are underway as to the background of the shooter, Thomas Crooks, and his reasons. There are also investigations on the Secret Service. Can you give us a picture on what talk is like on possible motivations, possible suspects, and just conversations around you regarding the shooting?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at in the terms of the Secret Service and the criminal Thomas Crooks, he's the. I've been in these rallies multiple times, and the way they've kind of screen and have their protocol when it comes to Secret Service, they do these initial sweeps. And if you look at the building where the shooter was, this is outside of the main security perimeter, right? And so there's definitely a lapse in the protocol and what happened, and lots of questions that the Republicans are asking that and the country is asking about what happened within the Secret Service, right? Is it a lack of manpower, or was it a lack of protocol, or was it just they got too comfortable and let something slip by, which in the eyes of the Secret Service is an automatic failure. President Reagan was shot in 1981, and even though for something like that, that's automatically a failure, and to Secret Service eyes, what happened on Saturday is equally the same thing, with a casualty and the former president getting hit. So there's definitely lots of questions when it comes to this and investigations that the country's going to look forward to. And I think that the FBI and the Secret Service are really opening up internally on what's happened. And hopefully we get to the bottom of this sooner than later. Because it's not only like in terms of President Trump when we're talking about lack of Secret Service protection, right? I mean, even the third party candidate, Robert F. Kennedy, doesn't even have Secret Service detail, and what happened to his father and his uncle. And so these are situations that needs to be taken care of by the Secret Service so that we prevent more situations like this down the road.
What about the Second Amendment? Have discussions around that grown louder since the shooting, since this attempted assassination attempt, or how are discussions on the Second Amendment or the
Not
rights
necessarily
of
in the Republican Party. When it comes to the Second Amendment rights, that's right for every American to have when it comes to bearing arms. I think we got to pivot the situation and think about the person's mental health, right? If this guy is going to commit some sort of violence, it doesn't need to take a gun. It can be whatever he wants to do to make his mission accomplished, right? And so what we want to look at and think about is like, okay, yeah, he has a gun because through his family or because of his hobbies, his shooting, part of like his school activities or whatever. But we got to talk about and think about like, what's his patterns? Why are we not seeing these patterns come out, these red flags that he's trying to show, or what's his manifesto, right? So there's still a lot of things to get in the bottom of. But I think instead of focusing on the gun violence, we focus on the mental health of this person for wanting to cause this sort of violence in front of people.
Well, John, this definitely isn't the last rally we're seeing, and we do hope the questions get answered, and also it's an opportunity to rein in terms of security, and we do hope for more peaceful rallies and better conditions out there. Thank you so much for your time tonight. John Jose, former National Director for Asian American and Pacific Islander Engagement for the Republican National Committee.